So it's recently I was contracted by a client of mine. So to give you a background about my career, and I'd say the vast majority of people I work with a lot of what I termed office athletes. So I would say my niche, if I had a niche, is the corporate sector. So I've been a personal trainer for 13 years, started off in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in an office building in the financial district. So dealing with a lot of high level functioning people, accountants, lawyers, people work in the financial industry, et cetera, et cetera. I'm now living and operating my business in Vancouver. A lot of the clients I deal with are particularly are primarily in the mining industry. This is where the cookie crumble for me, and it's part of my clients right now. So with that industry, it's a lot of sitting down, a lot of parties, a lot of functioning, a lot of meetings, but more importantly, a lot of travel in remote places. So this health and wellness presentation is for the office athlete. There's a lot of components that are for a lot of us nowadays due to the fact that we sit and are on a phone and spend a lot of time not standing up and moving. But primarily, there are a lot of elements in here geared towards the office athlete who travels as well. So without further ado, here we go. All right, so yeah, about me, I gave you some highlights already, but yeah, I've been operating as a fitness professional for 13 years. As the proud owner of Train Like Rob, thriving personal training company, we were voted and ranked second best training company in Vancouver 2023. But yeah, I specialize in, I would actually say that this has weight loss and strength training, corrective exercise, and life coaching. But I would say I'd specialize in whatever gets the job done. So I have various certifications. Primarily, then one of the main observations I notice or see with the sector of population I deal with, and especially in a busybody city, is just a lot of mechanical issues, a lot of gait walking issues, a lot of pain, a lot of mechanical issues, and then a lot of bad lifestyle choices. So I specialize in whatever gets the job done. But again, the specialty I would say I deal with is the office athlete or office worker. On a personal note, yeah, my journey, I come from a weight loss background. So this will be a separate video, but I was big as 280 pounds. I worked in an office too. Um, Bad lifestyle growing up or the way I was raised. So there was a lot of things that I went through in my life that definitely, when I became a trainer, I was able to communicate to a lot of the people that I work with or who hire me as their health and fitness coach. All right, company history. So I went full independent in 2019. Mainly was a big box gym trainer for quite some time. Also was a manager for a large portion of my career, and several of the big name brands I worked for. Next slide. Yeah, main goal, we are expanding in the corporate and online fitness sectors. And as I mentioned earlier, currently rated or ranked #2 personal training company in Vancouver. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went to that. Not blood, that's odd. That's odd. All right, yeah, so the agenda. The agenda today is the 4 pillars of health. And what the 4 pillars are is nutrition, exercise, sleep, and recovery, and stress management. But we clump sleep and recovery together. Those should be the foundation, or are the foundation, for an overall well-being. So what I mean by that is, a lot of times when we get into the gym or when we work out, we really get hung up on one modality, and that's a big win or a big check off the to-do list for a lot of us. And life gets in the way. We're not prioritizing a lot of little things, or we do not have the wherewithal or knowledge to elicit the wherewithal to really make sure we're doing these 4 pillars in a programmed approach that can be executed based on the other things that are happening in our life. Yeah, each pillar plays a crucial role creating a holistic approach to a balanced and healthy lifestyle. Nurturing these pillars ensures harmony, resilience, and vitality in daily life. So again, nutrition, exercise, rest and recovery, stress management. That's one of my favorite pictures I put in the slide. Now, it's a funny take. I've had a few people see this. More importantly, the people I did the seminar for. So to me, looking at the baby, I feel that's the most stress-free human being on the planet is a baby. They don't have like the cognitive functions and awareness. Yeah, they're just always smiling, except when they're peeing on themselves and crying. But apart from that, they're relatively stress free. A lot of people I know have a lot of people. So some of the people that were in the seminar, and the girlfriend looked at that and said, and thought of the parent being stressed. So it's the fun duality behind that picture. So if you're one of those two, leave a comment. Achieving the four pillars of health, nutrition, and exercise, sleep, and stress management requires a comprehensive and balanced approach to your lifestyle. The why. Overall, working out is a holistic investment in health, contributing to a longer, more vibrant life. The what. Building and maintaining a healthy lifestyle is an ongoing process, and small, sustainable changes. The how, different approaches. So different modalities, methods that individuals can engage in to improve their physical health and well-being. I'll add to that also should be, I guess, prescribed. You should be doing it. We only have X amount of time to work out, so make sure that those modalities are actually the right things you should be doing. If you're stressed, do yoga. If you have pain, do corrective exercise or see a specialist for that. If you want to build muscle, lift weights and lift the right weights. And then the when is the plan and finding the time and making the commitment and making the decision. Right, the benefits. So nutrition, essential nutrients, supply. We need essential nutrients to supply for bodily. We need the supply of nutrients for bodily functions. We need nutrients. So yeah, again, nutrients. These are your micronutrients. There's your macronutrients. We'll dive into that later. That supports energy system levels and immune function. Regulates weight and reduces the risk of obesity-related conditions. Exercise improves cardiovascular health, enhances muscular strength, endurance, and flexibility. The release of endorphins, these improve mood and reducing stress. All right, sleep. Sleep promotes physical restoration and recovery, supports cognitive function and memory consolidation, contributes to better emotional well-being and stress resilience. So I know when I get lack of sleep, I'm definitely more prone to stress. And then usually, I'm going to add to this, usually most of us, a very large portion of the population, when you get lack of sleep, what do? You drink coffee and you drink more coffee and you get less water and you're probably not eating properly. And that just creates this shitstorm of stress. Stress management. This reduces the impact of chronic stress on mental well-being, alleviates stress-related symptoms like headaches and muscular tension or muscle tension, enhances resilience, and provides healthier coping mechanisms, right? So when you have proper dialogue, you're at peace and calm and have a clear mind, you're able to become more resilient and you're aware that stress is affecting you. All right, next section. All right, so that is it for the introduction. Again, leave your comments below or input. All right, so we are going to dive into training. All right. Let's put this up here. All right. There's this nice 80s montage. At least I think it's the 80s. Maybe people still dress like this. But all right, introduction. What is training? Types of training. Conclusions. We went backwards. Let's go forwards. All right. So exercise is the cornerstone of a vibrant, healthy life, offering a multitude of benefits that extend beyond physical fitness, whether it's brisk walk, challenging workout, yoga. Right? What is training? Engaging in physical activities that target specific muscle groups and energy systems. This can include cardiovascular exercises, strength training, flexibility exercises, and more. All right, we're going to expand upon those. Strength training. Strength training involves resistance exercises that target specific muscle groups, aiming to increase muscular strength, power, and tone. Now, I'm going to correct that. You technically can't enhance tone. Tone is already there. Tone comes from the Latin tonus. So, like, your muscle already has tone. You can lose weight to bring out the tonus, but you're not making it any more tone. You can increase the size, you can increase muscle fibers, but it's already toned. So I just want to throw it out there because we're going to tone and tighten and all those buzz marketing words that have been thrown out. That's, you can't get any more toned. All right, you can lose weight. All right, it can involve the use of free weights, machines, or body weight exercises. Cardiovascular training. This type of training focuses on improving heart health, endurance, and overall fitness through activities such as running, cycling, or swimming. This is the development of energy systems. I'll expand upon that. So you have anaerobic, aerobic. Aerobic is our endless fuel source. That's why we store fat. So when we actually lose fat, we exhale it out of our lungs. That means that we're doing a type of activity that's forcing the nervous system to break down fat for fuel. In order to get to that state, you generally have to have had X amount of exercise beforehand, depending on the individual's metabolic rate and the type of activity or their exercise or conditioning level. That can vary. And then you have your anaerobic energy, and that's energy in the form of glycogen that's taken from food that's stored in the muscles. Like your liver stores 40 grams automatically, and then you store it in the muscle. So anyone who's ever done like a keto diet, you're generally flat and you lose a lot of water weight. Your body's 60% water, and water gets stored in the muscle also through glycogen. So that's how you end up losing a lot of water weight too. That's why people on a keto diet, for example, see a lot of instant success, right? Well, so when we're talking about cardiovascular training, it's very, very important to identify which one we try to do for the right reasons, whether it's weight loss or improving energy efficiency throughout the day, helping our metabolic process or metabolic functions break down food to convert it to energy, and also for the cardiovascular health system improvements and benefits. This, all right. Functional training. This type of training emphasizes on movements that mimic real life activities and improves overall functional fitness. Right. So very similar. It's the little big whatever brother, cousin, family member of strength training. So functional training can still have resistance to it, but it's replicating more real life movements. For example, like picking up a bag or a kettlebell or something from one side and bringing it overhead to replicate strength for the traveler who needs to put his bag in the overhead bin, or a farmer carry, which is usually involves dumbbells, barbells, or kettlebells, can be viewed as resistance, but it's a functional training because it's a movement that's in real life. We're walking, and more often than not, we're carrying groceries, we're carrying bags, whatever, right? So that's a good example of that. Just don't think functional training is for the athlete, even though there's a picture of an athlete in here. But those are some real life examples of what functional training should be. So everyone should have some sort of functional training. I find, most of the time when I get injured or I pull something, it's not in the gym. It's waking out of bed, rolling out of my bed, picking something up, and I'm super stiff and mobile. I'm 42. I just turned 42 recently, and those little things. Who's with me? Leave a comment below if you have experienced that. I feel that the majority of us have gone through that, right? So it's training to be better and stronger in real life. HIIT training. So the aforementioned energy systems, HIIT training involves short bursts of energy exercises alternating within periods of rest and lower intensity. So yeah, technically technically HIIT is viewed as anaerobic conditioning, but your heart rate never goes down. It never exceeds a certain level. So it actually technically borderline is aerobic training, the way it's designed. But anyways, so that's kind of like in the between. You're getting different pieces of the energy system. So we won't deep dive into that science, but that's just a little tip there. And then flexibility training. So the restoring the length of the tissue, and healthy, like a restored tissue is a healthy tissue. So flexibility training includes stretching exercises that enhance joint mobility, improve mobility, flexibility, and prevent injuries. Examples are yoga and Pilates. It's a little fun tip here. In order to actually properly lengthen the muscle, you need to activate the muscle. To ensure we're getting proper activation, you also want proper mobility, right? So you have your synovial joints, shoulder, and your hips. Those are the big mobile joints, right? So they can get really jammed up. You can actually improve range of motion and flexibility by addressing joint mobility. And I want everyone to think when they're lifting weights and moving, You're moving the joints. I want everyone to start conceptualizing that. And when you're doing a bicep curl, it's a joint action. Everything's a joint action. So one thing I find a lot of people do and how they get injured, they train improperly. Your muscles and your joints are the muscle skeletal system, joints and muscles, they are in proper alignment. So a lot of times when they aren't working with a qualified health professional, or they may not have the knowledge of what's going on with their body, they often get immediate results. So they're starting a program, and that's because they have been sedentary and active, right? So your body is going to respond to a lot of things quickly, right? But then when they start to cease to get any more benefits, they probably weren't loading up their body appropriately to induce the exercise stress to maintain continuous metabolic response. So, anyways, where I'm going is flexibility training should be the paramount. You should make sure you have an individualized approach for this. So, going to yoga and all that stuff is great. However, there's a lot of things going with your body. If there's one common thing I observe with everyone I train, everyone's fucked up. Everyone is fucked up. Tight hips, tight calves, knee pain, back pain, forward neck, yada yada. Even the tissue is malleable, so you can even who's fallen asleep and woken up with like a kink in their neck. You've literally moved the tissue around. I won't get into this like musculoskeletal system of anatomy of the shoulder, in that you can move it back in place. I.e., that's why you go to a massage therapist or a manual therapist. They're moving the tissue back in place, right? So you can do this. So please have an individualized approach to this modality or this component of your pillar, your exercise program. All right, limiting factors. Limiting factors can hinder individuals from maintaining a consistent exercise routine. Recognizing and addressing these obstacles is crucial for everyone overcoming challenges and fostering a sustainable commitment to physical activity. Some common roadblocks include, we'll get to this, but if you see the picture here, nice ashtray full of cigarettes. That one was, two-thirds smoked. You got a shot of something. I don't know what your drink of choice is. But here we go. Lack of time. How many times has someone said this? I've heard this. It's probably one of the more common things I hear. Listen, when the President of the United States has a program put in place where they have to work out, they have to fucking work out, and they literally get up at 4 or 5 a.m. to get this in here to maintain their health. If the person running the free world, or at least one of the largest countries on the planet, can make time to exercise, so can you. So busy schedules can make it difficult to find exercise. So what I find, and that was one of the goals with this seminar too, is making sure that people have the knowledge and they put of what was actually happening with their bodies, so they can actually formulate and come up with a plan to fit into some of these busy schedules, right? So at the end of the day, when we're talking about weightlifting, it's recommended you're doing at least 2 to 3 times per week, right? You're getting X amount of cardiovascular exercise based on your goal for your heart health, but also weight loss or maintenance of weight. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of postural, mechanical, torso core issues that you could be doing, and all these things add up, right? So if we're trying to count and track steps, in a given day, some of the little decisions we may have been told, advised to make, like take the stairs instead of the elevator, et cetera, et cetera, those add up. So do these little things you could be doing in light of those busy schedules. What you'll find when you make it habitual, you'll find you decide to make more time. When we decide something, people will go, well, they'll move valleys to do something when they decide, right? So yes, there may be lack of time, but it needs to be a combination of the proper knowledge and education and a decision to follow those things, right? And you'll find your commitments to some other things they may have been doing too much of will shift. Right? Motivational issues, number 2, lack of motivation or low motivation can be a significant roadblock. So I myself, who's trained on and off, I highlighted I was big. There's been definitely a lot of Oprah Winfrey type things for those young people who may be watching this who are unfamiliar with her journey. I know when I was younger, I had one of those like school pictures with each grade. It was like skinny fat, skinny fat, skinny fat. So like, I know one thing I've done is I have my foundation for training. I have some of the non-negotiables, which we'll talk about later. But I also have an element where I'm changing something that I do in my routine to keep some interest. And some of the things that where I come from, the way I was raised, I had a lot of limiting factors with respect to a lot of things I wanted to do. So I'm acting out some of those childhood desires as an adult. So, and that really keeps me motivated. Number three, injury and health concerns. So physical limitations and health issues, right? So I'll take the knee, for example. A knee is one I run into quite a bit where someone says they can't do something from knee pain. And a lot of times the knee pain, it's the chicken and the egg. What came first? And a lot of times the knee pain is persisting because you're not moving, right? So something will happen. It was probably caused from not moving to begin with, right? And that ends up being itself a limiting factor. And the thing you need to do to help it, you're not doing because you think it'll hurt it or because it's hurt, right? Number four, unrealistic expectations, right? So in order to lose weight, a good goal is to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. So thinking that like the 2, 3, however long it took you to put on that weight is going to come off in 30 days is absolutely unrealistic, right? And over ambitious. And then a lot of times, and we're often not, you set yourself up for disaster. What I find a lot of people who get to the gym, who have been out of the gym, are generally going to the gym to lose weight. So what that means when you're losing weight, you're in a catabolic state, right? And then you haven't set up the proper foundation for your body. So when you go off that diet, right? And what a diet is, it's diets being occasionally perfect, right? We want long sustaining health habits and practices, right? We're not trying to be occasionally perfect, right? So for all those moments we're not imperfect, right? What'll happen is these people bounce back, right? So I'm sure we all know someone if the person itself is not us sitting in the chair where we've gained weight back from being occasionally perfect, right? So that's an unrealistic expectation. We're looking for a long-term plan. Number five, environmental barriers. So you could live in a place where you have all 4 seasons, right? And that may end up becoming a limiting factor, or it's too fucking hot to run outside all the time, right? So it's important to identify these and craft a plan with these things in consideration. 6, definitely the office athlete encounters this quite a bit. Social and peer influence. So the ritualistic, hey, let's clock out early at 3 p.m. I'm in Vancouver. It's quite the craft beer culture out here. I remember when I first came here, I observed a lot of like remote workers, the people in the tech industry drinking at noon. I'm like, man, these people do not fucking work, or maybe that's part of the thing. So, and then how many of us have been to family, friends, functions, birthdays, all that sort of stuff, and you are trying to make positive changes, and you're easily put into a situation where someone is unaware of their behaviors, right? And they're probably not happy about it, otherwise they wouldn't try to like bug you. And you're trying to make a positive change, so they look at you in a certain light, and you're not the enemy, but they definitely try to coerce you or coax you into some of their behaviors. That was something when I was younger, when I quit drinking, in the prime of my adulthood at 21. I didn't drink, and all my friends drank, and some of the bullying I encountered, but going back to what I said earlier, I really decided, I made the commitment, right? And that really helped condition my mind for some of those things. I still want to maintain some of those friendships. So that in itself, that in itself was a decision, right? So you need to decide what you're willing to put yourself through once you decide to make those positive changes too, right? So even right now, I haven't drank for quite some time. I made it a rule to drink just with my partner, or if I'm on vacation. Those are my hard, fast rules. And then now I'm just kind of over it. I won't put myself in the situations where I'm getting like harassed to drink or whatnot. I just won't fucking do it. So that itself is another decision you gotta make for yourself. Number 7, financial constraints. So gym memberships and fitness channel classes can be expensive. Qualified health professionals that will help you out, um, like a personal trainer, can add up. So that could be an option for those who really, really need help. And then it's hard to find the right information for you if you're on a budget constraint, depending on where you're at your starting point or what's going on with your body. Number 8, mental health challenges. This is there's a big push on mental health, especially with the increase of us spending time on social media. A lot of like anxiety, and depressed anxiety. Where am I going with this? Number 8, mental health challenges. So this is something that's being talked about a lot more. I know in North America, I have a lot of South American clients, and psychiatric help and counseling is available, and it's just a very nonchalant thing. Where here I feel it's always not taboo in a sense, but you can't go into a walk-in mental health clinic like you can a walk-in doctor. So there's been a big push, especially through social media, to talk about this and be more open about it. I don't know how much of the influence of social media affects a lot of these triggers for mental health too, but it's definitely something that's been pushed to the forefront and can be a challenge. I know when I first started my fitness journey, I was very, very big, right? And I mean, I literally was so depressed, I almost thought I would kill myself if I didn't make a change. So I decided to just quit what I was doing, just work out all the time, right? And that was a very tough journey, but I had made that decision. But I was like 21, and you go to a gym. The gym I was going at was at a university, so it's like athletes everywhere, just beautiful fucking women, and I wouldn't say I had anxiety, but some of the things I knew to cope with it, like I'm like first 2 months I had a hoodie, it would cover my head, right? But I know that depressing feeling, I never wanted to feel that again. So there was a mixed bag of some of those going on with me, and they still go on today, right? Boredom, repetitive routines I highlighted earlier. I like to change things up, and it's important to mix modalities and to have a fun component. So I know with my clients, one thing that they really they give me feedback on, one thing they really enjoy is they never know what they're going to do. Early on in my career, well, there's something called periodization. I won't get into that too much, but when I told my clients like Monday was leg day, Wednesday was core day, and Friday was whatever, the amount of cancellations I would get on a Monday, because it's Monday and people are weekend warriors are back at the office, and then you got to go see your trainer to do some bloody legs. uh, Number 8 was also involved with number 9. But predictability does get boredom, because then you're getting into some of the other limiting factors I may have highlighted, um, that will prevent you from wanting to do it. And number 10, I've said this a couple times already: lack of knowledge. I won't beat that point to the death, because I've touched upon that earlier. Let's discuss again. This is for the seminar, but if you want to discuss, reach out to me or leave some comments. Number 4, conclusions. 150 minutes of exercise recommended per week, moderate intensity of aerobic activity. So 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity of aerobic activity, or 75 minutes per week of vigorous spread throughout the week. Add moderate to high intensity muscle strengthening activities such as resistance training or weight training at least a couple times a week. Those are your BAMs. Well, BAM is your bare ass minimum. That's your bare ass minimum, right? So the 150 can be a combination of a walking, a jog, a bike, a jump rope. 75 minutes is a little more high intensity. So there's something we'll cover later on with rate per exertion, heart rate, and how all that ties into this. And the 2 times per week, if you're doing twice a week, I recommend either a high-low split or a full body split. But most of us, if we're doing this, our bare minimum, we probably should, what in my opinion should be recommended, is a full body workout, because that also will tie into anaerobic and maybe aerobic, because of the body's being forced to circulate blood. So if you have poor circulation, I would definitely recommend the full body split for your resistance training program. All right, how do we execute? Hire an experienced and qualified trainer. So to me, yes, there's a whole bunch of trainers out there. Do your research, look at their background, interview them if you have to. Um, I know for me, being in my 40s, not to discriminate against you guys, but for some of the challenges I experienced or experience, I definitely want someone with a little seasoning. You know, it doesn't have to. They don't have to have been in the profession for like 10 years, but if they have some sort of life combination with experience of training certain modalities or whatnot, and they've been a trainer for X amount of years, that's what I'm looking for. Apps or wearable devices, something really a really helpful tool, whether it's a heart rate monitor, an Apple Watch, a Fitbit. More specifically, the majority of us have the majority of us have a smartphone. So a lot of tools and devices on the smartphone. Something I'll add to this is there's a whole, especially with COVID, really pushing the fitness industry to being online. There's a lot of online training apps too. So whether it's me, another trainer, download their app. The majority of us have one right now. Track your heart rate. So rate per exertion. Rate per exertion is the presumed stress on someone's body. So exercise intensity. Exercise intensity has to be at a certain level to induce the physical stress that then thus gets metabolic changes, right? So in order to induce metabolic changes, true metabolic changes, and have them stick, it generally takes physiologically the body about 9 months or so, right? So if you want to be in this zone, how we measure it are some of those wearable devices. More importantly, these are general recommendations. So definitely, if you have issues with your body, heart, whatever, please see your physician first, or an exercise physiologist or kinesiologist, whatever. But rate per exertion is how we measure the stress on the body, and that is tracked to heart rate, right? So generally it's recommended that like a heart rate, so depending on your condition, the average person should be at a heart rate of 130, and that's 13 on the rate per exertion scale. 60 is about neutral, or 6, right? And generally advise about 150. That's like your nice zone. You can push it upwards of like 180. I know when I was a CrossFit trainer, CrossFit coach, and doing some CrossFit, that shit was through the roof. There's some other things that can happen when it's really, really too high doing certain activities, injury, and that sort of stuff too. So this is the recommended zone. So stay around there. Time and frequency. So making sure you're training. I recommend everyone at the end of the day, I know it's like, oh, train 2-3 times a week. Everyone should be working out at least a minimum of 5 hours. 5 to 10 hours is what I recommend, right? That can be a combination of walking, yoga, whatever the hell, right? You need to move, and most of us aren't moving. We spend too much. There's 165 hours throughout the week, and if we're going to train 2 of those hours or 3 of those hours out of the week, and we're sleeping about 70, some of them we're either sitting down or lying down if we're not doing those other things, right? So to outpace the time we're putting our body in bad positions and not moving, be very hard pressed to overcome and get a lot of positive changes if we're just doing 2 to 3 times a week, right? Sorry for you folks that want to train once or twice a week. That's just not cutting it. I mentioned earlier the split, so we want to focus on a lower body push pull and an upper body push pull for resistance training, right? So your lower body push pull, squat deadlift, your upper body push, bench press, push up, upper body pull up, row, whatever, right? This is the generalized recommendation of what you should be doing, right? Don't go to the gym and do bicep curls 3 times a week, right? No one wants Popeye biceps. Unless that's your thing, then go ahead and do it. 3 planes of movement. So the majority of lifts and some movement patterns are sagittal plane. And what sagittal plane is front, back, up, and down. The other 2, frontal, that's side to side. Then transverse is rotating, right? Think of an athlete, think of throwing, think of golf. I know a lot of high functioning individuals like golf and those activities, right? So if you think about most of the movements in your exercise program, it's sagittal plane. Then we can overload a lot of those movements, spend a lot of too much time in those movements. Then we are forced to move in one of the other 2 planes, like rotate, we may be tight and mobile or overtrained that first movement pattern, and that movement pattern, those can cause injuries, especially if we're unaware of how we're moving or how we should be moving from spending too much time sitting down and immobile or not moving. So something to really, really keep an eye on and make sure you have a balanced program, right? That's something we're going to touch upon in another webinar or video or YouTube video that I'm going to post up. Measurable and obtainable long and short-term goals, right? Short-term goals like, hey, I want to loosen up my tissue and remove some of this pain, right? And if you don't have an acute injury, these can be achieved and maintained from having a nice flexibility and tissue release program. And then long-term goals can be, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds by next year, right? Those are 2 good examples of that. Working with a medical professional is the next point. So I've ensured that my clients and myself align with medical professionals. So I have my doctor, but I always try to find a qualified physiotherapist, chiropractor, massage therapist, not only for my business, someone I can trust to recommend that speak the same language as me, that has the same knowledge base in terms of my training stuff, right? And then, as I mentioned, I've said this a lot, decide and commit. Listen to that inner voice. Our inner voice is one of the main things that overcomes it. It creeps in there all the time. Don't do this, I'm tired. Tell that voice to shut up, right? Decide and commit, and you overpower, right? You know that loud talking friend that you may have, or maybe you're that loud talker. I need that loud talker to decide that you're going to stick with the health and fitness program that you choose for yourself, right? So speak loud, scream if you have to, get a microphone, public service announcements. I don't know.